Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Today's topic is stories of redemption and courage, and we are here with two special guests today. We have Brice and JoAnne. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I'm going to say before I forget, because sometimes I get wrapped up in the show, I just want to say thank you to Jackie for introducing us to you guys. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed the time when we met for coffee, and I got to know you guys a little bit more, and you got to know a little bit more about me. So Jackie's in the studio, so thank you, Jackie. Greatly appreciate it.
Jackie is amazing.
Yes, she is.
We're learning a lot from her.
That is awesome. And we are joined here with the lovely Mel Hobbs. Mel, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I love it so much.
Yeah, you're going to have to come out like this, a new sign, like something like that.
I don't know, just the peace sign.
Pulp Fiction.
That's me.
Yeah, I'm with that. The peace sign is good, huh? Yeah,
definitely.
Man, today has been awesome. The show that we did this morning, yeah, this just continues to go.
Yes,
to
Curtis
go
was
forward.
amazing.
Yeah, Curtis was really, really good. Yeah,
just when I think it couldn't get any better. I mean,
it does, huh?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Every time.
I know, right?
Every time.
I know. It's amazing how that works out. So to let you guys know a little bit, like I said at the start of the show, Jackie introduced us to Brice and JoAnne, and we sat down at Starbucks and had coffee, and we were talking about some sober living and different things like that you guys have gotten involved with, and volunteering and getting involved with, you know, the addiction part of things, people who are in recovery. Now, I know a little bit about your background, Brice. I don't know a lot about JoAnne's, but why don't you start it off so she feels a little more comfortable? Just,
Sure.
Are you originally from here, Brice?
No, I'm not. And
okay.
You're going to have to forgive me. I have to cough.
Oh, that's okay. So cough.
As soon as you started talking, I'm like, oh, I got to cough, and I didn't want to do it while you were talking.
Yeah,
so
it's all good.
No, I'm not from Utah. My favorite story to tell is I was unemployed, recently divorced, and living with my sister in California. Had a job interview in Phoenix, Arizona. Had a job interview in Salt Lake City. Couldn't make up my mind what I wanted to do. Drove my truck to Las Vegas, and at Las Vegas you kind of have to go left or right, and I chose to go left and go north, and that's what brought me to Utah. So
wow. So
that's
you really did roll the dice.
I did. I did. My life would be completely different had I turned right, and who knows how, but it just I think about that often, about the choices we make, right? The choices can sometimes they're insignificant, and sometimes they change your world. And I love thinking about that, the prospects of our choices.
And I'm really glad that you brought that up, because we discussed about choice quite a bit this morning, you know, with Curtis, and sometimes our choices are not the right choice. And I think it was even brought up, a lot of times we let our ego choose which direction that we go, and that's usually the wrong direction. But if we just listen, you know, kind of chill out a little bit and let things go, that's usually God or our higher power, however you guys want to look at it. That's him or her leading us in the right direction, in the direction that we're supposed to go. So yeah, I think choice. I remember once one of my wife's ex-best friends was talking about choice with my wife's addiction, and I disagreed at the start of it. I'm like, you just don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an alcoholic or a drug addict, or, you know, be addicted to porn or gambling or whatever. There's something more into it. Now, once it gets real deep, then maybe are the choices there to where, you know, you can choose to continue to go down that same path, or you can choose to go down a different path. And I think if we let our ego and our fear of different things take over, it's usually not good, because I know a lot of times I've chose definitely the wrong road many times. But that's one thing I enjoy about getting older. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that is really something that I enjoy about getting older. It is true, you get wiser and you start figuring things out and you start sitting back and, thinking things out a little bit instead of jumping and getting on the ride so damn quick,
I'm a lot more thoughtful. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more thoughtful than I was, even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my wife's addiction really has been a blessing for me. It has changed my life in so many different ways. And I have been working on myself since 2009, and I'm still working on myself. I'll never stop. However, it's really helped open my eyes with a lot of different things. And I even shared this at the show this morning. To be in a room with so many incredible people, especially those who have gone through addictions, and we've had people who have been gambling addiction, porn addiction, sex addiction, drugs, alcohol, all types of addiction, and they are some of the most flippant, inspirational people I have ever been around, and I love surrounding myself around those type of people because it helps me become a better person, and I'm hoping the same for them. I hope that I'm able to give them some type of inspiration that we can feed off the energy together and make it better.
I was thinking about this I drove up from St. George this morning, and I was thinking about this on the drive. I feel like, in kind of the bio that I gave you, I was raised in a sheltered life, if you will. Life was good for me as I grew up. No great trauma of any kind in my family or in my life growing up. And when I got introduced into this other world, it started with my divorce. Bikers Against Child Abuse was part of it, and working with them, and now doing this. I actually feel like my life's more whole than it was when I was younger, when I didn't know and didn't see I hate to say it this way, but the other side. That people, the trauma and the struggle that people go through, I feel like I understand it, other people more, but I feel like my life's more complete.
You've got a full backpack. That's what we talked about before.
Full backpack.
But it's of good stuff. This one's of good things, right?
Yes.
It's your stones turned to gold.
Yeah. So that was something profound I was thinking about on the drive up here today. So,
well, I'm glad you shared that. Joanne, what about you?
My background is completely different from Brice's.
Okay.
We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he is his own person. He really is, and he says, I don't understand where you are or where you're coming from. And for the first time I could explain to him, I said, you have been fighting the system of how everything should be in this world. You've been fighting it since you were 2, when you smashed your tricycle with your hammer and your parents let you, and you didn't get in trouble.
I did.
Wow.
His mom will say it was smashed flat.
Holy cow.
With the hammer. And so he's been fighting against the system, and he's been allowed to, whereas I was formed. I was given very strict boundaries, and I was just almost groomed to, this is how it's supposed to be, this is how you will be, and there wasn't an option to be the other way. So I grew up in more of there was abuse, there was physical abuse, and so I have a trauma background for a lot of different things that have happened with me. But it's still, my father passed away in December, and there's just things that are just sneaking out of my head, and it's almost like he took the gate with him, and it's just kind of sneaking out, and just strange realizations that are coming out. I'm like, I told Brice today, I know that if my dad would not have groomed me to go the direction that I did, I'd be an environmental scientist. I know I would.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I know it's
You just know.
I know.
It's that feeling, yeah.
But I'm in education, and teaching, and I love the kids, and I have a different perspective, and because of my background, I can work with those kids. I love the hard kids.
Yeah.
I like the analogy you used with he took the gate with him. That gave me goosebumps all over.
I was picturing when I used to help my dad irrigate the field. You know, you'd have to wait for the ditch to get all full, and then you'd pull that gate, and all the water would just rush out. That's what I was picturing when you said that.
Yeah.
It's crazy how as life goes and certain things happen to us. You know, I lost my dad in February, and he and I had a fallout. Oh my gosh, a long time ago. Matter of fact, I hadn't seen or spoken to him for 5.5 years, and then of course find out he's dying, and so we drive to Yuma, and the last time I see him is, you know, basically laying on his deathbed.
I'm from Yuma. Sorry.
You know, are you? You're from Yuma?
Yeah.
So they used to go down there every year. They'd leave in October, and then they'd come back in April, and yeah. So that was, and it's funny because in a way I have felt guilty, you know, because I've had my mourning, but I would have thought it would have been much deeper. And the only thing that I can kind of put the two together is, since we didn't speak or see one another for 5.5 years, it's like he was already gone. You know, and it's kind of crazy because my wife brought up probably about a month and a half ago, she goes, "You have talked more about your dad than I've heard you talk about since you guys had your fallout." And I started thinking about it, and I like, damn, she's right. You know, a lot of, like you said, the gate opened and a lot of these things started coming forward, you know, and it was hard for my mom, you know, because she wasn't allowed to have a relationship with me because he didn't want her to, you know, and it was really tough for her. It's just, yeah, and we were molded kind of in the same way, or at least I was, being the oldest, you know, and I didn't even know up until, let's see, I'm 59 now. What was I, 54 or so? That he wasn't even really my biological dad. Ended up finding out he adopted me. You know, my mom's my mom, and that was like a frickin' shock. You know, and it's, yeah, it explained a lot of things why he was the way he was with me. You know, and talking about change, even, you know, he told my mom a long time ago, he's like, "Yeah, Alan's changed." And I was telling my mom, that's what we're supposed to do. But see, in his eyes, you stay on that same path, and that's the path that you take. You don't veer off. So,
right.
Is that kind of like what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
So since I was a little girl, my dad always told me I would be a nurse. He wanted me to be a nurse. And then in high school, I went into the nursing program, and I had some patients die, and I was like, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
This is not me. And so I stopped that, but it's just all little things. It's, you know, no, you don't need to go into the Air Force. I wanted to go into the Air Force. They had the best uniforms. I wanted the Air Force.
I like that. They had the best uniforms.
And so that was one of the reasons. It really was. I was 18. And he's like, no. And then I wanted to become a sheriff's deputy. And he got somebody over there to talk me right out of it, because the only women that are successful in the sheriff's department are those that sleep their way to the top. And it was back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And there was some truth to that.
Yeah.
But
Some.
Yeah. Not all of it. There's awesome women that do awesome things, and we're discredited because we're females, and it's been a battle. It's a battle for any new or minority. So
Yeah.
I feel
it definitely is.
Yeah, I feel like we just move through our situations and we make the best of it. But then, darn it, I don't want to be held back. So I've asked my children since then, did I do this to you? did I carry that on? And they looked at me like I was crazy. And they're like, no, Mom, you were never like that. And I said, okay, I let you make your choices. I said, you let us make our choices, but then you expected us to follow through with our commitments.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I can deal with that.
Deal with that.
Deal with that.
Yeah. And you know, and it's, we're sitting here talking about our parents, and our parents did the best that they could. They did what they thought was right, you know, and that's all any of us can do as parents, right? Mm-hmm. We learn a lot from our parents because we are molds of them. And as we get older, we start realizing there's things we want to take and there's things that we're just throwing in the trash because, you know, and then again, we're going to have stuff that our kids are going to throw in the trash as well, hopefully.
You know? Hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. You know, and we've even talked about a lot of the people that have been on the show and talked about their addiction and stuff, how they lost their kids and lost this and lost that, and they've built these relationships back up, and they have chosen to break that link, you know, because quite a few of our guests have had addiction throughout their whole family, and they're the ones that's choosing, you know what, I'm done, I'm cutting this shit off. And it's like, now you've just given your child you're not giving that child that other link to add on to that chain. You're breaking it now and starting a whole new life and a whole new cycle, you know. I love
to watch the people we work with, the addicts we work with, bring their families back into their lives.
Yeah.
There are not words for the joy and the awe that I have to watch them restore those relationships, because what a horrible life having no relationships.
Oh, yeah, right?
You know, being alone. So
yeah,
that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing this, is to see those relationships come back and the relationships we build with them, you know.
I'm actually building a different relationship with my son, because I'll be sober 100% 9 weeks this weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's funny because I'm going through these numbers with my son, and he's like, well, I've been sober for 11 years. And I'm like, well, let's see who can go the longest.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
You got to meet her son. My wife and I went over a couple of weeks ago, and we had a rummy night over at Mel's house, and her son wanted to play. She's like, no, this is just adult night. And he pulled up a chair and sat in between us, and I had some good conversation with that kid. He's a sharp kid. I really enjoy his company. Yeah, it was great to have him. So
it's our personal commitment to each other right now. So
yeah,
that's amazing. You know, to have that support. And I know, like, I can't say this is 100% true, but you will do almost anything for your kids, right? You know, and not disappointing them and is very powerful.
Yeah. And we still will, you know, as parents, we make so many mistakes, and you know, and it's sad, and I hope I'm okay by saying this. I'm pretty sure I am, but you know, my wife now, we have 3 grandkids, but they're all from my oldest daughter. And well, actually we have 5. And now she just had a granddaughter and a grandson born from, you know, her son, and she has a daughter that just had a baby. And they're upset with her. They didn't even tell her when the baby was born. The only time she gets pictures is from people who are in the family, see it on Facebook, and then they share it with her. Mm-hmm. You know, and some of the stuff that they hold against her is who she was as a single mom, doing her best to raise 2 kids as a single mom. It's not easy, as Mel knows, right? Because you're a single mom. It's not hard. And I also know because my ex-wife, you know, when we divorced, we had our 2 daughters. And, you know, I've even thanked my ex-wife. I said, thank you for everything that you did. You know, you raised those girls really, really well. And it's a shame that we let these past things that have happened in our life, and we don't see who the people are today, you know. I think we talked about that when we were at that event in West Jordan. You know, we all have skeletons in our frickin' closet. There ain't a one of us that doesn't. And if there is, I'd like to meet that person and say, how the hell did you do this? Because I'm really curious on how you did it. Because we've all had our issues, you know. And it's like I tell my wife, I says, now that they're parents, they're going to find out what it's like. Because it ain't easy. It ain't easy. Even when you have both of you together, you know, it's not easy. And we make a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes with my daughters growing up, but I also know that I did a lot of really, really good things. And I'm 59, and my mom still treats me like I'm sick. She still has to tell me how to do things, what I need to say, and things like this. And she's even said, my oldest daughter's really busy with the kids. She runs her own business and everything else. And she's like, you need to talk to her and tell her. And I'm like, nope, it's her life. It's her life. She makes her choices. Now, if she calls and asks for advice, I'll give her the advice. But other than that, I don't get in my kids' business. You know, I even told the daughters as they got older, I'm like, your mom and I are going to do the best we can. And there's going to be a certain point, basically, when you're 17, 18 years old and you decide to go off out on your own, your choices are now your choices. Whichever one you choose, it's either going to help your life or it's going to make your life a living hell. Mm-hmm. And our hands are wiped clean of it. We did our best, right? And I think any parent can do that, you know, just basically do their best and, kind of go from there. So
I still terrify my mom. Even today. She's, Brice.
Oh, Brice. I like that. And Brice.
You know, with my own children, you know, I had to learn to step back. That was something I had to learn. Yeah. You know, once they turned 18 or even before that, really, I've struggled with letting go and letting them do, you know. Mm-hmm. But it helped. Doing that with my own children helps me in this environment too. With the addicts, you have to say, you know, it's your choice what you're going to do. If you want to recover, I'm here. You have my support 100%. Yeah. If you're not ready to recover, if you're choosing not to, hey, I wish you the best, you know, but I'm not going to try, and it's hard sometimes. I'm not going to try and hold them back, say, no, give it one more shot, you know, hold on just a little bit longer, you know. You have to step back and let people live their lives and make those choices, give them that freedom of choice. Yeah. And then and again with my own children, pick them back up when they come back and say, all right, I'm ready to try again, or I need help, you know. And with that sincerity, you say, okay, here's what I have to offer to help you in this particular situation. So whether it's with your kids or with someone who's struggling with trauma, addiction, whatever they might be facing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, definitely. What the heck had you, I mean, where did you come up with the redemption and the courage? I mean, like I said, when I was reading through your bio and I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, what a great title. But I also wanted to ask you, what made you think of that?
That went deep.
Oh, okay.
You just you took a big old scoop right there. Wow. Okay. And I didn't even expect that.
I didn't either. I just came up with it.
Gosh, I don't know if I can go there.
Okay.
Just feeling of a failure, feeling that I wasn't good enough, feeling lost, and gaining and that power. I had a therapist who was a feminist, and I went to see her because I had been told that I was abusive toward women. And I said, I'm going to pick the worst person possible to tell me what's wrong with me, you know, or the best person possible to tell me what's wrong with me. She told me I wasn't abusive. And that gave me that's where my courage started to come, and where I felt redeemed. I knew I wasn't a bad person, but I'd been told I was. And so I started to believe it. And so that's where that courage, that power, that redemption started to come. Like, no, I am my own person, and I'm a good person.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's really where it started, where it came from. And, yeah.
You know, and I like how you brought that up and how you said it, that you thought, you know, that you wasn't worth it and you was a failure. And I can see why you're doing what you're doing right now, because I would say 99% of the people we've interviewed on the show that have battled with addiction or that are in recovery have all thought that same way, you know, other than, you know, the people, well, even the people that have come in and talked about mental health and different traumas.
Yeah.
You know, and I know my wife battled with that a lot, you know, feeling like she was worthless and wasn't good enough. And
I think that's way
much
bigger than addiction.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's just
It's
human
all of
nature.
us. Yeah, it's all of us.
I think it's just how you
Yep.
handle it. I think we
Yeah.
all have our stories and where we go. And some people find the drugs. Some people find the cutting.
Yeah,
Some
True.
people become workaholics. The
Yep.
bodybuilders, you know, hours and hours that they're hyper focused.
Yep.
So it's just, we all go in our direction to handle it the way that we know.
yeah. Yeah, and that's a very good point, because we do. You know, we were sharing when we were talking outside before we came into the studio here that, you know, some of the stories I've heard, I'm like, damn, if I lived a life like that, I would probably be a drug addict and alcoholic too.
I know.
You know, holy crap. And especially a lot of the women that have come on who have been sexually abused and physically abused and been told they're worthless, and I mean, just been beat on and molded, you know, basically molded their whole life. Well, what do you think's going to happen to them when they get older? You know, and it seems to happen right around that puberty age, you know, around that 12, 13 age group, and it's like life just takes a whole different turn for them. You know, and again, it's the choice, but we're so damn young at that time. We don't.
You have
we
no
don't know.
idea.
Yeah, we
you
don't.
have no idea that,
Yeah.
that
Yep.
these series of events are going to change my life forever. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
And I think it's important to recognize that it's not always your choice. So things that happened in my life, my sister's life,
Mm-hmm.
those were somebody else's choices that were put onto us. So we did not choose to be sexually abused when we were little.
Right.
That
yeah.
wasn't our
Yeah,
choice.
that wasn't your choice, right?
And it was put onto us.
Yeah.
And then you're not allowed to speak about those types of things. And so then you're put into this little rut that of survival, basically, and then you just keep going.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get to make your choices, but at some point when you're so young and those choices are being put on you,
Mm-hmm.
it's you're set down that road, and until you're older,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I don't know when you really actually can take that power back. I'm still taking it back.
Yeah.
It's I always refer back. What do you say? There's no end to bettering yourself.
So there's no finish line. There's no
Yeah,
finish line
right.
when it comes to working on yourself. Yeah. Yeah, and with you saying that, Joann, it was reminding me, you know, I love spending time in the mountains, and I used to be a big hunter back in the days, and ever since I've had grandkids, my wife says I've turned into a wussy because I just don't want to kill anything anymore. I still love getting out in nature. I love looking for deer and things like that, but I'm just not interested in killing anything anymore. And I remember a lot of times when the weather got bad, and when you're in the mountains and you'd have your four-wheel drive and you'd be in one of those ruts and the road would be all sloppy and messy, and you're doing everything you can to get your vehicle out of that rut. And sometimes it was better to be in that rut so you didn't slide off the road. You know,
Right.
and you stay in that rut for so long until you finally get to a point where you're like, oh, I can finally get myself out of it. And even though you're still trying to get yourself out of it the whole time you're going down the road, you know, I remember many times I'd turn the wheel and you just keep sliding back in, even with a four-wheel drive, you know. And so
you're making me, I'm drawing an analogy here as you're
Okay.
talking about that, right? Staying in the ruts. Sometimes it's better and safer to stay there. I think a lot of expectation is put on us by our parents and even by religious figures that, no, you've got to stop the behavior now. You've got to get out of that rut right now.
Yeah.
But it may not be safe. It may be impossible where you're at that position or that stage in your life. I cannot physically get out of this rut right now. They say, but you've got to get out. You've got to get out right now. Well, I don't know what I'm turning into. Am I turning down the cliff?
Yeah.
So there's power in understanding who you are and what you need as a person to get out of the situation you're in. And
Yeah.
sometimes you can be in that stuck there for a while, And I think
Yeah.
that's okay. And we tell people it's not okay.
But and I like that you said that, Brice, because it is okay. Really it is. We talked about it, I think, even earlier, that, it's okay to feel sad or feel angry or feel a certain way. And I would say almost the majority of the time, Mel, you stay in that rut long enough, and it's okay to stay there, like you're saying, Brice, because you're not to where you need to be yet to get you out of that. Because if you get out of it too early, like you said, you could be sliding down off the hill or getting yourself in a ditch or somewhere else, or worse. Yeah. And again, I now, with what I know and what I have learned in the past, probably since 2009, is listening to the voices in my head. Those voices just isn't. This is how I look at it. Not saying that it's this way for everyone, and I'm not trying to say this is how you're supposed to be. You be how you want to be. To me, that's my spirit talking to me. And I had somebody read my aura in August, and it was white. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. So we Googled it and looked it up, and it means that I'm very in touch with my spiritual being. And my wife has told me that before I even had that reading done. She's like, you are very good at listening to those voices in your head. And it's taken me a lot of years to get to, and that's something I'm still working on. To where there's times when somebody will ask me something, or there's something that needs to be done, and something inside just says, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. Just leave it alone. And I stay in that rut, And then all of a sudden one day, which it's kind of crazy because a lot of these things that pop up in my head is usually when I'm at the gym in the morning, and I'm working out, and all of a sudden it's like, it's now. And as soon as I get home, or if I'm doing cardio, I'll get on the phone and I'll start sending emails or calling people, and and it's, I love feeling that, because it feels, for me, it's taken a lot of pressure off my life. It takes a ton of weight off you. And we talked about it with Curtis, right? We need to stop controlling our lives, and society has molded us to look at things in a different way, and it's not okay. And I like the courage part of things, because in my eyes, it takes a lot of frickin' guts to decide something different that you're not going to deal with in your life anymore, and you're going to kick it to the curb once and for all, and you're going to move on, and again, you stay in that rut for a long period of time because it's just not at the right time. It's like my wife went through 8 rehabs. Why did she go through 8 rehabs? She wasn't ready. When she was ready, she got herself out of that rut.
She didn't need 9.
Yeah, she didn't need 9.
Yeah.
I really like that analogy too. I feel like I rode in the ditch all dang year until July. But it's crazy. I knew it wasn't the right time while it was happening, but it was still like, how do I get out of this? I got out of it, thank goodness. But looking back, I understand still it wasn't the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it takes that redemption and that courage,
forgiveness as well.
Oh yeah, and the forgiveness, which we talked about earlier too. The forgiveness about a lot of things, and forgive ourselves. I was sharing it on the show this morning that I would hit my knees and ask God, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why won't JoAnne get sober? And I was pissed because we were in financial problems and I was struggling, and all she gave a shit about was drinking, and I said a lot of mean things to her, and you know, a lot of stuff happened, and I finally decided that I wasn't getting the answers I was looking for, and all our families are LDS, and again, my church has felt more like the mountains. When I go hiking on Sundays, that's my church. I feel where I feel the most spiritual, and I feel like I get a lot of answers back. But I was fasting, and I remember after the fasting, I don't know how long it was after, but the word forgiveness kept popping up in my head, you know. And I was saying on the show this morning, I'm like, forgive her? Oh, hell no. I ain't forgiven her. Look what she's done. She's turned our lives frickin' upside down. You know, I mean, literally upside down, and it just kept eating at me and kept eating at me and kept eating at me, and pretty soon I realized, it's me he wants me to forgive, not her. And once I started forgiving myself, it was easier for me to forgive her. You know, so how can I forgive someone else when I can't even forgive myself? You know, and for a long time I didn't think I did anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was sit here and put up with your bull crap and your drinking, and you know. And then as I started thinking about it, yeah, a lot of that floodgates opened and things started coming up, and I went, "Oh crap! Yeah, I'm not as innocent as I thought I was."
It's so easy to judge, and to not take into consideration where people have been. I have on my email at work, I have a quote that's, it's difficult to hate somebody whose story you know. So it's, some things have happened in my life, and other people are like, you know, things are happening in the news, and because of where I come from, well, that's what life, that happens. That happens. It happens every day. And if you don't believe that, then you need to get a little bit deeper into the mess or something. But it happens, and then, but they're like, doesn't it make you angry? And I thought about that for a long time, and I thought, no, I can't hate them, because if I hate them, that requires me to hate my brother, to hate my father, to hate my stepfather, and I can't do that. It would break me to hate, even though it's a mixed relationship. You know, it's the emotional, physical abuse with love. You know, my dad would say, "You are a part of me. You are like my right arm. If I lost you, it would be like I'm losing my right arm. And I can't work without my hands and my arms," and things like that. So it's just very mixed. But then when you get to hear other people's stories and understand, it just changes your perspective. But it's also, you need to know a little bit more than just what's their trauma. They're more than that.
Oh yeah.
I found out 2 years ago, my grandfather was a frogman in World War II. And I'm like, okay. I knew a grumpy old man who wouldn't let me call him Grandpa Dave, because he didn't want to be a grandpa. He just was Dave. And he was an alcoholic. When he came over, he would get a glass of orange juice and go back out to his truck, and he smelled funny. And didn't talk to me very much. Like, okay, Grandpa Dave's here, and he smells funny. And then I started finding out all these years later, he wasn't just a frogman. He was in the elite team. He was a Navy SEAL before they started calling them Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
And he went on those missions and put the bombs out on the beach to blow up the barbed wires when they stormed the beaches. He put them on the hulls of ships. that's not just a old grumpy drunk. That's somebody who worked hard and had
Put his life on the line.
right. He had dedication. He did things, and they were all secret missions too.
Yeah.
So it almost gives me like, I come from something. Look at this. Yeah, he handled it this way, but I come from something, and it's almost empowering to hear the whole story. I don't know why he made the decisions he made after, and how things, I don't know all of those stories, but once we do start learning those stories, you build a relationship and a kinship with others that allows you to be more understanding.
Yeah.
Have you seen the book or read the book from Oprah Winfrey and a Dr. Perry, I believe? It's called What Happened to You.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you have to.
What happened to you?
What
huh?
happened to you? Yes, it's
Huh.
he started studying effects on the brain from childhood trauma, and so how you see somebody and they're doing something weird and you're just like, what is wrong with you? They've changed that from what is wrong with you to what happened to you?
Yeah.
What's your story? And I just feel like if we changed our mindsets, I'm in the education setting. I see these elementary kids coming in and they're diagnosed with anxiety in 3rd grade, in 2nd grade. My grandson has been diagnosed with anxiety when he was 4. And what's happening? Where can we help? What needs to change? How do we need to change to learn to support our kids and what's happening in the world? But asking those questions, it just changes everything. So our residents that come into our sober livings, they come in, and some of them, I look and I'm like, you missed out on a lot. And they're learning basic skills like how to sweep the floor. You can see, when someone knows how to sweep a floor and when they don't.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And they're holding it like a little kid holding the broom, and you're
Yeah.
like, you didn't learn to sweep the floor, or how to speak, or even how to present themselves, or to say hello, or to look someone in the eyes. They don't have those skills, and you start looking back instead of saying you're trash, which is what people have said.
Yeah. Yeah.
They come in, and I think the most uncomfortable part about it all for me is that they put us on a pedestal.
That's hard.
And
that's really hard.
They're like, you saved our lives. Like, no, we offered you a bed. I know, it's a bed. I am sleeping on a bed in a house. And you have to be humbled by that. And I just keep telling them, we didn't save your life. We offered you an opportunity, and you're saving your life.
Yeah,
you are making your choices.
You're saving your own, and your higher power is directing you to that place, Because we were talking about, so the guys that were leaving when you guys were just coming into the studio, I work with these guys, and we talk a lot about that stuff, that everything that comes into our life, it doesn't come from us. It comes from our higher power. Everything in our life, pretty much.
I didn't fully understand that or appreciate that years ago. Mm-hmm. So much more so now. Again, having a well-rounded experience in life, I believe that I believe it more than 100%. I know it. Yeah. I know it as a fact. That my life is supported, not necessarily controlled, but supported and supported by a higher power. It absolutely is. This is not just my life, it's mine to live, but I have help. I'm not alone.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
alone in this journey. There's absolutely God is there. God is real. There's it's not even faith, it's knowledge.
Well, what we were talking about before is when you choose to live it alone, you're living it as your ego. When you have that help, it's not just your ego living your life.
Yeah.
And ironically, I just came across last night, because I think it would be cool if there was something like AA for depression or for trauma. I am not an addict, but I could see the benefits of AA. But when you start talking about the higher power, something inside of me freezes. And I found a Trauma Anonymous, and I was reading their page, and they do not subscribe to the higher power, because oftentimes the trauma, when you go to you're sexually abused, physically abused, it is someone in power over you that is causing the trauma. And so when I was reading their page, I was just like, this is me. It's not that I don't think that God exists or anything, but it's when you have these people in that your parents, I mean, my dad was physically abusive, emotionally abusive, my stepfather sexually abusive, these are my safe people. And where were they? They were the ones who in power and were hurting me.
Yeah.
So it's talking about self-actualization and finding yourself and not letting something else have power over you, which is different than finding a higher power.
Because you do have to find yourself, right?
You have to find yourself and that strength inside of you so that you can accept the rest of it.
Your higher power, the way what I'm hearing, your higher power controlled you, and in my relationship
and hurt
you. And my higher power is there to advise and to support. He doesn't control me, there's no control there for me. So I have that understanding and separation. And I completely understand why you would approach it the way you do. To
and here I am at 55 figuring it out just by chance, reading this and going, that's me. That's how I feel. And
it makes you feel a little bit better, doesn't it? While you're not connecting
not
with
crazy.
Everybody else when they say their higher power, and you're like, no.
Well, and the higher power can be anything.
Mine is my third eye. That's my higher power.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we were talking to your sister. We were heading to Wendover, and we had your sister on the phone, and JoAnne asked her that question, and she's like, I don't really. Yep. And JoAnne, who is my wife, you guys, I think you met her she was there with me at the protest thing. It's, she's like, find something. She goes, I went to an AA meeting once, and this guy got up, said his higher power was a goldfish. And she goes, pick a rock, pick a mountain, pick a tree. Because it's something greater than you, right?
Yep.
And it's something that still can't control you. It's still something greater than you, and I used to when I was coming back from St. George, somehow I lost it, but I kept a stone in my pocket, Now for me, God is my higher power, but also I have certain things that I use that I feel like is my strength. Even if it's just a crystal, and crystals are supposed to give out all kinds of different energies and things like that, but that's kind of like my way of putting the two together and helping, and and again, I see your point, JoAnne. I mean, definitely, I see your point. And I was talking to a good buddy of mine who used to be my wife's bishop, which is kind of crazy because I played a lot of golf with him, and that was back in my smoking and drinking and telling dirty jokes on the tee box before I realized he was a bishop. I'm like, when did you ever tell me you were a bishop? He goes, didn't figure it mattered. He says, I like you for who you are. which cool guy, and we're still friends today. But I remember calling him up, and we were talking about my wife's addiction, and I says, I keep going through the same crap, and I says, God's mad at me. And he calls me Tiger. He goes, Tiger, let me stop you right there. He goes, God doesn't get mad at you. He doesn't get mad at you. He will not do or lead you to anything that's bad. God is good. Everything's good. He says it's the opposition that's keeping you stuck where you're at. And that really got my wheels turning, going, oh my gosh, maybe it is. And again, we all have our own ways of looking at it, right? And as long, the way I see it for me, and I may be wrong, which I could be, as long as we're still working on ourselves and we're looking at moving forward, it's that courage. What works for us, right? Because it's just like certain rehabs. There were certain rehabs my wife went to that really did her a lot of good. There were other rehabs, I got a lot of bad things to say about them. It's like, as far as I'm concerned, you guys are just there for the money. You don't really give a shit about the people that come through. But there were other ones that, man, they had a lot of love and support for, and a lot of places, recovery centers now, they are getting more into the mind and what's happening inside here. Mm-hmm. They're still kind of working towards the program in a way. However, they're starting to understand there's something inside here that's causing this out here,
Right.
This has more power than we understand, than a lot of people realize. This inside of you, your courage, right? Once you can find that and tap into it, you can accomplish anything. I really believe that you turn inward, and then you can express it outward more effectively and in a more positive way.
Yeah. And you talked about that, Brice, in your bio. in a way, really.
Yeah.
How you were uncomfortable about doing certain things, but it seems like one life choice led you into the next one, which led you into the next one, to where now you feel a lot more comfortable doing what you're doing, right?
I like to say I was compelled to be here.
Oh,
I was compelled, and it was, and you brought it up earlier, Al, and like I had a choice, but it felt like it felt like if I didn't choose to go the way I went, to be where I am now, that I would have been so wrong and so missed out on so much. So it wasn't like I was forced, but compelled, I guess. It's just like, I have to get here. I have to go do this. And volunteering for the road home, my first experience that's really took me on this journey. I was so terrified. And I'm just reading a story to a little child, but I was so terrified. I did it twice, I think, because I couldn't get myself in the building.
It really affected him.
It was so hard.
Interesting.
But
just walking in, he came back and he said, just walking in and walking past the people that were out there, it was so hard for me.
It was emotionally scary. And I mean, I didn't think any less of the people that were there at the time, but to be in them was scary. To be amongst these people was emotionally scary. And but I was so compelled. I had to do this. And it's bizarre to me that I don't want to, but if you don't do it, you are going to be sorry. And then Bikers Against Child Abuse, they're a scary bunch. And I love them for that. They are wonderful.
They are a passionate group.
They are such wonderful people.
Yep.
I love all of them very much because they taught me so much, but how they love children, how they are such an advocate for children, the weakest of us all, what they do for them.
They're their voice. They're their voice for these kids who have literally been beaten down to nothing. Yeah. Literally.
Actually, they do not I will say that they do not become the child's voice.
Okay.
we became, I still say we, it's a support for the kids. It's here, let's help you get that foundation.
Got it.
You go on child visits, and the child is in charge of the visit. What do you want to do? How are you feeling? You don't want to talk? I'll just sit here. It's about empowering the child where they are, and it's amazing. You see big burly men
Oh yeah,
get
I've
off
met
of
a
their
few of 'em.
motorcycle
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
go in and come out with a tutu on.
Yeah.
You know,
Makeup
it's
on, fingernails painted.
it's
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only guy that's done that.
and it's amazing what it will do. The
Yeah.
smiles, the hugs, the pure joy, and who doesn't want to ride a motorcycle?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it definitely is a great bunch of guys. When I started with the West Jordan Chamber of Commerce, Craig Deering, who was the original president of the chamber, 30-something years that he was the chamber president, but he rode with Baca. And there were a few times we did some events and Baca came out, so I got to meet a few of these guys. And, you know, back in my days, I was brought up to where you didn't look at bikers, you didn't talk to bikers, they were mean, they'd kill you. I mean,
And I was
so
from
many
California.
horror stories.
Yeah,
You
came
know?
through our town often.
Yeah, and there are some, you don't speak to, you know. However, they're not all like that. You know, I went to got transferred to Phoenix, Arizona, at a high school. I was working construction, television cable, because television cable was really starting to take off in the early '80s. And I was given a crew. I'm 17 years old, and I had a crew of 5. And the gentleman who ended up being my right-hand man, his name was Don Armstrong. Nickname was Tattoo. And the reason why his nickname was Tattoo, because his whole body was covered in tattoos. His whole body.
Wow.
Everything was tattooed. And he was 45 years old. I treated that man with the utmost respect. And he treated me the exact same way. And a lot of times he'd invite us to his parties. I don't know if you've ever been invited to a biker party, but they are frickin' wild. It's something that a 17-year-old from West Jordan, Utah had never seen. I was just going, this shit really happens? Oh my gosh. You know? And I love telling this story because there was a biker guy there. He did not like me. I didn't say a word to him. Apparently I looked at him wrong. And he come up to me and he goes, by the end of the night, I will have you out on the front lawn and you're going to be begging for your life. I'm going to kick the living shit out of you. And I'm just going, what did I do? I didn't do anything. So I told my buddy, so I went to the party. Now this was my buddy Don's party. That's all that pretty much was bikers there. And here's just a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds that we all worked construction together. And wanted to be invited to a kegger with free booze and women with no tops and, you know, all the pot you can smoke. And I told my buddies, I'm like, we need to go. Like, no, man, the party's just heating up. And I'm like, this guy wants to kick my ass, you know, and I don't think I can take him. And so they went and told my buddy Don. And Don comes up and he finds me and he goes, you having problems? I says, yeah, there's one of the guys here who wants to kick my ass. And he goes, what did you do? I says, apparently I looked at him wrong or something. I'm like, I don't know. And Don goes, who was it? I says, no, Don, it's okay. He goes, no, you effing tell me who it was. I'm like, all right. So I'm looking and I'm like, that guy, I don't want the guy to see me put like it's that guy over there. And Don goes, come with me. I'm like, no, really, Don, you know. And he goes, no, you're staying at this party. You're my guest. You're in my house. And so we go over there and he grabs the guy on the shoulder and he goes, come here. We go off to the side and he goes, what's your problem with my buddy here? He goes, I don't like him. Why don't you like him? I don't like the way he looks. And so Don goes, whose party are you at? He goes, it's yours. Whose house are you in? Yours. He says, this kid is like my son. He says, if you take him out and you beat him, he goes, you're going to be laying right next to him. And he says, and you will not get up. And the guy was just, and Don was just giving him a thrashing. And the rest of the night, man, that dude was smoking a joint with me, and we're drinking beers together, and he's chatting with me. And it was that. So my way of looking at bikers was totally different. And Don basically was my dad away from home. You know, that man took really, really good care of me. I wished I could have seen him when we left Phoenix. They jumped on their bikes, and we were getting transferred to St. George. And we were on our way out, and right before we got to, is it Kingston? Right outside of Arizona there somewhere. But yeah, we all pulled over the side of the road, him and his buddies, and he had some biker gal on the back of his bike, and we smoked a bowl, and we gave each other hugs and said, have a good life. And that was the last time I saw the man, you know. But yeah, it was a lot different. Whenever my mom started talking about bikers, I says, yeah, you just don't know who they are. You know, yeah. There's good ones. There are some bad ones, but there are some good ones.
There are lots of good ones, and you just don't know. We see that a lot, right?
Absolutely. A lot of people. Joanne touched base on it earlier.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Guys in leathers. There's a stigma.
Yeah. Just like with the addictions.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Well, let's take a quick commercial break. Guys, stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street, or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffy Town is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffy Town stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffy Town and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon Mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffy Town can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer prepackaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone, and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com, that's taffytown.com, to find out more about the products and services that Taffy Town offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction. Again, we are here to talk about stories of redemption and courage, which I think we pretty much did talk about that the first half. And we are here with our special guest today, Brice and JoAnne. Guys, thank you again so much for being here. Really do appreciate you guys.
Thanks for inviting us. We're enjoying this.
Absolutely. Good. We hope that you do. And we always enjoy it, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, Mel and I always enjoy sitting
It's
down
Therapy
and having
Thursday.
this. Yep, Therapy Thursdays. And again, thank you, Mel, for being here. You've been here, I think, the last 4 weeks or 3 weeks.
Thanks for having me. I
Yeah.
love being here. I really
Yeah.
do. It's one of my most favorite things that I do every week.
Yeah, I love it. And, we hadn't seen each other for quite a few years since the networking and COVID hit and all
Yeah.
that stuff stopped. And then you popped in at a First Fridays for the West Jordan Chamber. And now we've connected. Now here we are doing shows together and all kinds of stuff.
I
It's
love
pretty
it.
cool. Yeah, it's really neat. Really neat. So first half of the show, gosh, guys, that was a lot of really good stuff. And right before we went to the commercial break, I believe it was Mel that brought it up, is that stigma. And you brought it up too, Joanne, about not knowing what we really don't know, and Brice, you mentioned it as well, as society has had a way of grooming all of us that we seem to think that we are better than the person next to us. And a lot of people have gone through a lot of trauma, a lot of different things. And I believe I mentioned that when we were out at a protest of a sober living that was coming, through a West Jordan neighborhood. And if people knew what other people went through in their lives, maybe they would just open up just a little bit more and start going, oh my gosh, because I believe really, and again, this is just how I look at it. I think a lot of stuff that we see on social media, they put on this fantasy world. It's a Disney world, I'm married to my prince or my princess, and I've got these great kids, and I'm going on vacations and things like that. And I've talked with people who have had a ton of money, and they are the most miserable people. You get everything. I've talked with other people who don't have so much, and they are some of the most happiest people. And I've talked to girls who have been raped and sexually abused for years, and have been beaten down and belittled, and I've talked to guys that's had the same dang thing happen to them. And out again at this protest thing, there was a couple people that was next to my wife and I. One of them or two of them worked for AP&P, and I remember one of them saying, "You don't know, I've worked for them, and you don't realize the people who come through here." What people? Who are they? Do you know who they are? And I even remember looking over to the husband, and I'm like, "Do you really know who they are?" And he goes, "Yes, I do." Well, how do you know this? And I'm just as guilty. I'm not saying I'm no freaking innocent person, because I was definitely one of those people as well. You drive downtown and, you see the addicts and the homeless, and you're like, why don't you get your shit together? Give back to society. Drugs are more important, this, that, and the other thing. Now that I have stepped foot in this realm that I'm in, and I've been in it now I dealt with my wife's addiction for many years, and now I've stepped foot to where, again, as I said at the beginning of the show, I get to be in a studio with some of the most inspirational people I've ever met, and to hear their stories. People don't know their stories. And I believe a show like this, and there are other podcasts out there that talk about addiction and stuff, it's shows like these that hopefully people will start realizing and start getting rid of that stigma that there's something wrong with these people, because they're not. There's nothing wrong with them. Did they get lost? Yeah. Maybe so, and we've all been lost at times in life. But they're not the people who you see, at one time they probably were the people that you see downtown. And I really have a really hard time, and I believe I even said this when the mayor asked if I could get up and talk. I even said I'm just as guilty, where you go downtown and you say, why don't you get your act together? Get off the drugs, get off the street, whatever it is. Now that I've been in this realm, there are people like my wife who has worked their ass off to get clean. And then they get back out into society and they want to get a job, and then no one will give them an opportunity to have a job because of their past record. And it's not who they are today. Mm-hmm. So what happens to a lot of them? They go back to what they know. No one else is going to give them a chance. If no one else will believe in them, it's hard enough for them to start believing in themselves. Like we even, you mentioned it, Brice, at the beginning of the show, to start believing more about yourself and knowing that you are worth something. And when you start getting beat down, I mean, eventually, you know, you beat a dog long enough, pretty soon all you got to do is look at that dog, and that dog will just lay down.
Yeah.
You know, and society, we just keep doing that. So we can turn around and throw that person back out on the streets just so we can bitch and moan about them again.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy. It really does drive me crazy. And again, I'm not innocent. I was one of those people as well. And getting to know people's lives and their stories and their background has opened my eyes. And I think we talked about it before we came in the studio. Jackie mentioned it. Addiction doesn't discriminate.
No.
You can come from, some of our guests have come from in incredible families. No issues, no problems, just something happened to veer that person off. Other people have come from not so well off families, and they've been that way. You know, it doesn't discriminate. I mean, yeah. How many people? The guy we had on our show today, Curtis. I mean, this guy at age 23, back in the early 80s, was making $80,000. 23 years old, Wall Street guy. I mean, this guy had frickin' money, tons of money. In his mid-20s, this guy was banked, you know, and he fell in the addiction.
It started with a cup of coffee.
Wow.
A cup of coffee.
Wow.
Because he came from a very religious background. In the LDS thing, we talk about not having caffeine and different things like that. And he says then that cup of coffee ended up going out with the guys to a bar and having a beer. Then it was to have a shot of vodka, and then it was doing a line of cocaine, and then it just kept going. Not realizing what he was masking, what he was covering up, you know. So we're all covering stuff up. You had something there, Brice.
We are. I like what you said early on when we came back, that people go to what they're comfortable with. I think everyone goes to what they're comfortable with. So if you're an addict, you go back to the drugs because you're comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. But if you're not an addict, if you're someone living in a neighborhood and you have this perception of the way life should be, you go back to that comfort. Something comes in and tries to tell you to look at it differently. Everyone retreats to that comfort, right? So thinking about what happened in West Jordan, that's what everybody did. Everyone there, I think, went back to what they're comfortable with. Even the addicts that were there, the recovering addicts that were there, they still went back to what they were comfortable with. Yep. They got really defensive and started calling names and ran to tell them to be quiet.
Yeah.
And the people that I think it was two girls that worked at APMP, or the two people that worked with the APMP, they went back to what they were comfortable with. They deal with a lot of people who really don't care. Who don't give a
that's
shit.
So true. That is true.
They're just like, hey, this is my life. This is the way I'm going to be. Screw the system. You're just going to have to deal with me being a jerk. And so they see so much of that, right? So they kind of withdraw to that. So I think we just naturally withdraw to that. So how do you introduce to the addict a new way of life, right? Taking these addicts, they're finding that life's hard. When you're under your addiction, you get to, I don't want to make this sound like a positive thing, but you ignore all the hard stuff of life because you're high all the time. You're killing yourself.
It's a mask.
It's a mask.
They have said under their addiction they never got sick. They wouldn't get sick. They'd be out on the streets. They wouldn't be eating, but they didn't catch the cold or the flu or anything. They weren't sick. And now that they're clean, they're catching these things. And
I think that comes from a mindset as well.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I've seen that mindset thing too. So you're telling them life without your addiction is much better, but they see how hard it is. Like, you know what? No, they struggle with that, right? Well, the same with a person like me, I guess, who doesn't, or at one time wasn't exposed to the struggles that people go through. Like, I don't want to look at that over there. I don't want to look. because if I have to look and see what's over there, then I have to turn inward and look at myself, and I just want to pretend that I want to stay here where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not pretending. It's I want to stay here where I'm comfortable. And
What you know, like you said.
What I know. And so they see something coming in, and I thought it was comical to me that at that house where everybody's expressing, or a lot of people are expressing their concerns, one guy kept saying, but what if at a moment, just a moment under their addiction, they jump in a car, drive around the corner and hit and kill somebody, right?
Hit one of our kids.
Hit one of our kids, right? We're just adamant. But, just that brief moment, they could do that. And I'm thinking, well, the odds of that are pretty low. But not 2 or 3 days later, a block up, someone came tearing into the neighborhood, crashed their car into another house. Someone from not even in the neighborhood came and they were drunk or under the influence or something, came and crashed their car. And I'm like, it happens in the neighborhood. But we try and
you're good.
we try and just, again,
Well, and
pretend it's not there.
I
It's already
remember,
there.
I remember that
pointing
gentleman
fingers.
saying that, because the gentleman who was purchasing that sober living, I think that guy asked him what the chance was, and he's like, "Oh, there's probably about a 5% chance." And he goes, "Well, I'm not willing to take that 5% of having my kid killed because one of these people that live here end up using or getting drunk or whatever." And I do remember when I got up and talked, I remember just talking to that guy and going, there's a 5% chance. All right. Well, guess what? There's a 5% chance of you getting in an argument with your spouse and getting pissed off and jumping in your vehicle and tearing down and a kid riding his bike out and hitting. Yeah. So that 5% chance just doesn't happen with an addict. It can happen, and you just said it. Somebody that doesn't even live there. Mm-hmm. So there's a 5% chance we can walk out the door and have a car hit us. I mean,
living life is a risk, right?
Yeah.
And
but
you take someone who's trying to recover. What is the best place for them? Someone who really sincerely is trying to recover, and even if they fall, they make mistakes again, but they keep trying, right? Yeah. What's the best place for them? Over here by themselves, or in society and in a community of setting, other people who can show you this is how you live life, right?
It's not necessarily downtown on 4th South. It's in a community.
Yeah. It is. It's right there with other people, so you have the right example. And I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say here.
Well, you have the support, you have the accountability, you have resources. Mm-hmm. We have chats for each of our houses, and we're looking at those all the time. And with Jackie, she'll get on there and she'll say, "Are you okay? What do you need?" Or somebody else will. What happened? Are you okay? Some of our girls, I burnt myself at work today. They're frustrated, but they have some place to take a picture of their burn or their cut, and they put it on that chat, and they get these responses of, "Hey, it's hard, we get it," and then they start comparing. But they have the support, they have the community, and they have some place to go home to be safe.
And they know someone's there that cares. Because if you didn't care, why would you ask them if they're okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? So again, and you said it too, it is that support. And support through anyone that's working, and that goes with anybody, just not with drugs or alcohol or any other kind of addiction.
It does.
That support helps all of us. I mean, it's part of our human nature, and that's why we love hugs here in the studio. We feel like that human connection is needed, and it all makes us feel good. I like to, there for a little bit, I was doing this thing called Project Smile. And if I saw someone, it's like, "What are you smiling at today?" And I'd take a picture. "Hey, you want to do a selfie?" And they're like, I had one lady at KSL building. I was on Casey Scott's podcast, Project Recovery, and this lady downstairs, she's all just giddy and smiling. And I said, "What are you all happy about?" She goes, "I'm alive." And I mean, that's how she said it. And she was thrilled. She wasn't joking. She goes, I'm upright. My family's healthy. I got great kids. She's like, why not smile? And I thought that is so cool. And I've learned a lot about that, you know. Mm-hmm. I go to the gym in the morning. There's a cute little gal named Olivia that works there. And she's like 18, 19 years old, just getting ready to go to college and stuff like that. And I love going in there and getting her smiling, you know, or I get her giggling. You know, I'll do like funky stuff. I'll turn my hat up sideways and I'll come popping in or just doing stuff. And to see someone smile, or I've seen other people even at the gym, it's like, you okay today? Because you got this frown on your face, you know, and sometimes they just automatically smile. No, I'm okay. I'm just concentrating on my workout. I told a gal once in Costco, we went into Costco when I was working for the chamber, and it was this cute little gal, and I was asking for the manager to come down and talk to me and introduce myself, and she's sitting there, she's doing her work, and she goes, oh, he's going to be right down, and I look at her and I says, you have got one of the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen. And to watch her frickin' just light up, and she goes, you just made my day. And it's such a great feeling knowing that you can do that for someone. And you guys said at the beginning of the show, a lot of times these people put you on a pedestal, you know, and they're doing the work. You guys are there giving them that support, and you're giving them that courage. And yeah, I mean, how can that not even make you want to do more of that, right? To where you just want to keep hugging people and loving on people, and I believe we've lost a lot of that in society. We're too busy picking sides, you know.
Yes, we are.
When the sides, what the hell does it matter? You know, I mean, you guys have different beliefs than I do. So what? That's your beliefs. Who am I to tell you mine's right and yours wrong? You know, if you're a good person, man, that's all I care about. You know, every time I see you, I'll give you a hug, you know, or say hi to you, or smile to you, and you know, and society, and I believe it is starting to I believe there is a shift that's starting to happen. You're starting to see people a little bit more going towards, you know, looking at life in a different way. You know,
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
and it's refreshing to see.
It is. It really is. And we got a long ways to go. Long ways to go, because we have been shaped and molded for hundreds of years.
Yes.
However, it can change just like it changed the other way, you know.
Yep.
But it's up to us. It's definitely up to us to go and just looking at life in a different way and looking at others in a different way, you know. Isn't there a song called, I think Elvis sang it, and a lot of other people, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, or something like that, and the song is kind of about, you know, you don't know my life until you've walked a mile in my shoes, you know. So, and we could all learn by that, definitely.
It's important to understand that.
Yeah.
When you meet someone, when you're engaging with someone, you've got to remember that you have no idea. You're meeting them for the first time, right? You have no idea where that person's coming from. The people coming into our houses, we have no idea where they've been, where they're coming from. All I know is what I see right here in front of me, and you have to give them complete benefit of the doubt, whoever it is. And again, with addicts, it's this person is trying, this person is sincere, this person wants help, this person wants to recover, you know. And so maybe if it's at work, you're looking at someone saying, okay, this person works for the same company I work for. They have goals that they need to achieve and that they want to achieve both in life and at work. So I try, don't succeed all the time, of course, but I try to say, okay, how can I help promote that person? Yeah. How can I support that person in what they need, with the hope that they will in return support me? And so the addicts that come into the houses, it's like, okay, we're going to make sure you have a bed. We're going to make sure you have a safe place to be. We're going to make sure that we're holding you accountable for where you are and what you're doing and for your actions. And then the hard part for us is when they say thank you. You know, we're still learning to receive that back. But to be there for them, regardless. regardless of that past. We know that their family's given up on them, their friends have given up, their children have given up on them.
Yeah.
But we don't have to carry that. We don't want to carry that into the house. Well, all these other people have given up on you, so we're going to give up on you too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And again, we need that support. And one thing that I didn't give my wife credit for, every time she went to a rehab, this is probably after about the third time, and she's going back into rehab, and I'm like, why? Why bother?
Why bother?
It's not doing you any freaking good. And that's what I tell her. You're just wasting their time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting your time. And it's because I was one of those outsiders standing on a lawn with my pitchfork, basically doing the same thing to my wife, the person that I love. And I didn't realize until now that she's been in her sobriety, and she never stopped trying. Maybe it took 8 rehabs. She never stopped. She could have gave up after the first time, second time, even the third time. She didn't. She still kept trying, and
aren't we all, words don't come out of my mouth the way they're supposed to sometimes. Don't we all we are all still not coming out. We are all always trying to do better, right?
Yeah.
No matter who you are.
Yep.
You're always trying to do better. Oh man, that was the dumbest thing. Rewind. That was the dumbest thing just came out of my mouth. Let me try again, right?
Yeah.
And we're all of us are doing that. We're trying to better at something. Doesn't matter what it is. So why are we putting a stigma on people that are trying to get better at not using drugs? It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just we put a stigma on one versus the other. I'm trying to eat less. I didn't do a good job today. All right, tomorrow I'm going to try and eat less. People are like, yeah, keep going. Yeah. They champion you when you're trying to lose weight or something like that, or going to the gym and trying to build.
I was just getting ready to bring that up.
Yeah,
the gym,
you're trying to build your muscles, right? People are there cheering you on. Well, I'm trying to quit cocaine. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, right. Ooh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad.
It's like alcohol.
It really
it's
is.
so acceptable. In every TV show, everything that you watch, and everywhere it's
the
so
social drug.
acceptable.
Nothing wrong with alcohol. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Yeah. And society's full of that, right? They judge now marijuana, and there's nothing wrong with marijuana, and nothing wrong with alcohol, and what's the next thing? Cigarette.
Well, we glamorize alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, really, we do. We glamorize it. I mean, and it started even back. I remember growing up. Now, there wasn't a lot of drinkers in our family. I mean, my dad drank beer, but neither one of my grandpas were drinkers. Or I had an uncle who I really didn't know very well. And it's like, you're a man or you're a wuss if you can't handle your liquor. But watch me, I'll drink you under the table, and it's like we glorify it.
Yeah.
Why the hell are we glorifying something like that? And I didn't even realize until my wife's battle with the alcohol. I mean, you just can't stop alcohol when you're a heavy drinker. It'll kill you. And I called bullshit on it a lot because I just thought it was her way of getting more alcohol from me, and come to find out it's true. But yet we glorify it. And Mel, you touch base. It's on all the TV programs. People come home and what do? I had such a bad day. I got to pour me a drink. And they have a drink, or they're out for dinner and usually a glass of wine
makes
and
you feel fancy.
I mean, we're glorifying a lot of this stuff. But then when someone falls into the addiction part of it. We had a gal on our show. Matter of fact, I think she was our second guest, Darlene. I think from USARA. Yep. I think she was our second guest, on our second show. Yeah, and she lost a son to a heroin overdose, and she was saying, in my neighborhood, she goes, if I told my neighbors that my son was battling cancer, People would be, oh my gosh, we'll say a prayer for them. What can I do for you? You know, do you need help with meals or anything like that? She goes, but now if I told my neighbors that my son was battling a heroin addiction, she goes, there's no one ringing my doorbell bringing me casseroles.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't want anything to do with me.
Yeah.
You know, and she goes, that's one of the things that is hard to accept, because that person is still struggling.
Right.
You know,
The harder they struggle, the more support they need, right?
yeah.
Maybe this is the wrong way to say it, but someone who is suffering from cancer, they didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
They didn't choose it, right? It was put upon them. And then you have someone suffering from addiction, struggling with addiction. They put it upon themselves. And why wouldn't you have more compassion for the person who made a poor choice and then is trying to choose to do better? Why wouldn't you just pour all of your support into that?
Yeah.
Because it's a much, I think anyway. I don't know. I'm not an addict. I can't say.
Yeah, it's hard for us to walk in those shoes.
I think that's a much more difficult situation to be in. One that you put yourself in, right? And then try and dig yourself out of it, because all that guilt, all of that, I did this to myself, you know, where someone who gets a disease, someone who gets into an accident that was put upon them, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say there.
No,
I think
I'm
it's
getting your point.
everybody
Yeah.
just needs to have compassion and be kind. It doesn't matter if it's cancer or diabetes or an addiction or trauma, mental illness. My daughter's schizophrenic. But if you don't know that about her, you would just think that she doesn't care about life.
Yeah.
You know, you can't see what's inside. So don't assume.
Yeah,
I
don't
guess.
assume. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, good point, Joann. Yeah, don't assume. You know, because again, all of us have been through a lot of crap in our life, and Curtis mentioned it with his bag of rocks. You know.
Yep.
We're
We wouldn't be
supposed to
who we
go
are
through.
today
we're
without it.
supposed to go through those, because that's what helps build us. That's what helps increase our strength and helps us learn. And unfortunately, there are some that they don't learn. They just stay. You know, and gosh, I've shared this a couple times, but we had a gal on our show. She was out of Arizona, Jennifer Seitzer, and she's 19 years clean, and she has a son that's battling addiction right now. And, you know, she fears what a lot of moms fear, and dads, of getting that phone call saying, we found your son or daughter dead, you know. And she was saying she was talking to a gal at church, and this gal told her, says, you know, there are those that are in so deep and they just don't have what needs to be had inside them to get themselves out. And so God brings them back home. And then there's those who keep working and keep working and keep working and keep working, and they finally get to the point where they get themselves out, just like the people who go to these sober livings. That's a new step in their life. They're working their butts off to get their lives back on track. A lot of those people are now the people that are out there helping others that have gone through what they've gone through. And this lady said those are God's angels, because he's kept them here and he's put them through these battles so he can keep them here to now go out and do more of his work by helping other people. And when she said that, it brought tears to my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, how true is that? I mean, seriously. And you know, those who are religious or spiritual, I mean, when Jesus first started walking this earth, his disciples that he picked to go out and spread the word, were they the most perfect people?
No.
Not at all. They were the imperfect people, and those are the ones that he used to go out and spread the word. And you know,
who would you rather walk your journey with? Someone who has no idea what you've been through, or the person that's been there and at least understands? You know, I'd rather walk beside someone who understands.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so the people that have been there before, the people who've come first, you know, absolutely, they are the ones that are paving that path for the ones coming after them.
Yeah, exactly right. Too many times, and I've shared this before too, and I keep sharing a lot of these things because it means so much to me. And Joanne, you brought it up about not assuming. I was my wife's therapist for a long, long time. And I'm being a therapist to someone who battles addiction that I don't know nothing about. And she even told me once, I picked her up for a weekend visit once we had that 24-hour thing, and I went and picked her up. She's telling me all this stuff that just happened at the place that she was staying at, recovery center. And of course, me being the therapist, I had to put my 2 cents in. And she finally said, will you just stop and listen to me? And I went, okay. She goes, for once, I wish you'd be my husband instead of my damn therapist. I still didn't get it. I mean, I felt like I just got kicked in the crotch when she said that, but I still didn't get it. And it took me, a year or so down the road before I finally understood what she was talking about. And I've shared it in a lot of my public speaking, It's like, do I understand addiction? Oh, hell no. Even with all the guests that we've had on here, I understand a little bit more, but Brice, you touched it. I've not walked those shoes. Now, being on the other side, if someone comes to me and they're on the other side, oh hell yeah, we can be Siamese twins because we understand the battle that we're going through, just like someone who's battled addiction. Because a lot of times in these sober livings and places like that, these are people that have battled addiction, right?
Yeah.
They're the cheerleaders now. They're the ones that are there to help them, like you said, help them get through whatever struggles they're going through and help them have the right life skills to cope when life throws you those curveballs. So
it's great to see them, talking about the cuts and the burns and stuff, but it's great to see them when they'll post and say, I want to use today, I want to use right now, I'm struggling, and you see how many people jump on there with support and encouragement to be better, to hang in there. We've had people drop what they're doing and go find people and come to them and just sit there and talk to them. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see other people taking care of people who are struggling.
They're teaching us something.
They absolutely
Every day.
Right. They're teaching us something.
There is so much that we are learning.
Oh. Yeah, I learn something every week, and I know Mel does too. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest places to be in my eyes. I'm just looking forward to the day where I can spend every day in here and sit down with some of the most incredible people I've ever been around.
I've actually found that in my learning throughout the week of just different podcasts I listen to and things like that, I come here with what I've learned throughout the week and just right place, right time, I guess. I don't know if it's just what needs to be heard at the time or what needs to be spoken at the time, but
seems
it's great to use it.
Seems to work out all the time, huh?
I think sorry, no, go ahead.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to have the stigma being washed away. It was you weren't supposed to talk about those things, especially back when I was young. Well, you didn't talk about those things, even to the point of we, going to court. If you were sexually abused and you went to court, the kids were accused.
Oh yeah, it was their fault, right?
Yes,
it was their fault.
And so people didn't talk about it. But through the years, we keep fighting, and others fight and push, and we all have to fight together. It's a battle just towards kindness. And humanity. We have to. Okay, I shouldn't say we have to. I wish that we could take all of those things away, that all the past hatreds. But we do pass it on unknowingly sometimes, our fears. But if we keep reflecting and learning, just baby steps, just things,
Exactly right.
and finding the joy in things. We have, there was a program, I do not know what the program was, but it was allowing, some of our residents got into to get false teeth. And they went through so much pain. They had their teeth pulled and they could not take any pain medication.
Yeah, I can
because
imagine.
of being in sober living, right? And they were in pain. It was hard. But I will tell you, one of our residents, she got her teeth, and it's almost like she's a new person.
That's so cool.
It is amazing. And she's, there are people, look at my daughter, look what my sister's done, look how well my family's doing. I got invited to my family get together this weekend. I mean, I got to speak to my daughter for the first time in 5 years. It's worth it. It's worth the fight. It's worth those
Something
things.
we take for granted, and here it is. It's such an amazing gift for them, right?
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, guys, I mean, this has been an awesome show. I really, really enjoyed this whole conversation. It was something different, It was really different, and something that I felt like was really needed as well on where all the topics went and the conversation went. Is there something, before we end this, is there just something else you guys just want to share with our audience, or just get out there that you've had on your mind you haven't had a chance to yet?
Okay. I'll pitch it out there.
All right.
For our sober livings, that stigma extends to finding places for residents to live. There are individuals who are working so hard, and they are getting clean, and they have nowhere to go. And we are not individuals who can afford to buy lots of houses.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to lease houses, and just finding a place to rent
That's big enough too, right? To hold.
that's big enough and clean enough.
beds,
Sometimes someone will offer a home that shouldn't be lived in, and it's like, no, they deserve a nice, strong
Absolutely.
home. And I think that's our biggest battle right now. There are so many people that are willing to work hard and to get clean and to do better. And if we had that little bit of help, just somebody say, hey, we know somebody that can rent a house to you. We're happy to be responsible for it and everything else.
I'm glad you brought that out. Yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Housing is so difficult. It's difficult for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Finding housing, and I think our housing laws need to change to adjust for allowing more people to live in a house than they might be allowing now. I think West Jordan, 5 unrelated people can live in a house together. Why? Why 5?
Yeah.
Why not 4? Why not 6? And with the housing, with the country struggling with housing as it is right now,
Just the cost of everything.
the cost of everything, the laws do need to change.
Yep.
For everyone's sake. But the people that are that have that stigma, they have the felonies, they have the background that says you're not trustworthy. But for those that are really trying to change that, they need safe places to live. They can't go back to where they came from. They go back to where they came from. That might even be their parents' house. Maybe they've got great parents, right? And they go into their parents' home, but they're in that neighborhood where they came from, right? The people coming out of recovery, coming out of inpatient, that intensive recovery process, they need a safe place to go. Yep. They don't want it. They need it, or their chances of being successful are greatly diminished.
Yeah.
They need somewhere different to be, somewhere in a environment where the house is safe, the house is clean, it's supervised, and they need to be in a community of normies. I guess that's the word. They need to be in a community of normies, right? Of people who can set examples for them, so they know how to act. Just real quickly, sorry. One of our houses, I come pulling up in the driveway, and there's a shopping cart in the driveway. Oh, hell no. I marched in that house. Whoever brought that shopping cart home, you take it back right now. You are not homeless. You are not living on the streets. That shopping cart does not belong here. You live like a normal person lives. You live like I do, okay?
Yeah.
And we don't bring shopping carts home.
Wow.
Such a small thing, right?
Yeah.
But
it's big.
It's huge.
Yeah.
The feeling I got that, no, you're trying to go back to your old behaviors. No, we can't allow it for their growth. So they need to see the example of their neighbors. They need to see the example of the people that they're living with. So yeah, housing is huge for everyone, but especially for them.
Yeah. I agree, and I'm glad you guys brought that up. So any of our listeners out there, if you guys know someone, real estate agent or whatever, and I can throw some feelers out there too, because I've networked with a lot of people with real estate, to let you guys know or let us know, and we can pass it on to you guys. So, Mel, do you have anything you'd like to share before we sign off?
No, I think we've said it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mel and Al.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much from the bottom of my heart.
You bet. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to spend it with us. So, we're always blessed that we get to sit down with some incredible people. And
I envy you a little bit.
Oh, well, geez, don't do that. Don't be putting me on a pedestal now, because I just want to stay down here. I'm good with it. Hey guys, again, thank you to Resilience Talk Network and Brad for opening up the studio here for us, and to all our listeners, all our amazing sponsors. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for you guys. A lot of you guys have been following us since our very first episode, and you've seen the improvements that we've had, and it's just because of you guys. It's all because of you guys. So we really appreciate your kindness and your support. And I've actually forgot to say this in the last few episodes, but when you watch one of our episodes, please share it with somebody. Just share it with one friend. We're not asking you to spam people. Just share it with one person. Ask them to like and subscribe. It really, really helps our numbers out. It helps us get out there to reach more people. And you never know. Maybe that person that you're sharing with knows someone who really needs to listen to that show that day, or find one of our other shows. It's really, really cool to hear a lot of stories, and I shared it the first show, and I won't share it on this one, but a phone call that I got Tuesday night at 9:30 at night. It's really, really cool to see what this show has done to help people and even bring people together. It's really cool. So again, guys, thank you for all your support. We really do appreciate you. And remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.